In this episode of Money Matters for Her Season 3, we are speaking to someone with an illustrious career spanning over 4 decades in the financial sector. She has etched her name in history as the first woman to lead as the chairman of State Bank of India. Presently, she holds the esteemed positions of chairperson and CEO at Salesforce India. Her exceptional journey is adorned with a string of accolades which include the world's 100 most powerful women by Forbes, top 50 globally most powerful women in business, and world's 50 greatest leaders list by Fortune. She is also the author of Indomitable, a working woman's notes on work, life, and leadership, where she gives us an illuminating look into her incredible journey. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to none other than the distinguished Arundhati Bhattacharya. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
So, ma'am, we have a few questions for you.
Sure.
My first question to you is, how has your relationship been with money? And I would love if you could start with your childhood.
Okay. During my childhood, we had very little money, frankly speaking, at least in our own hands. In the sense, I remember, I think I used to get something like a 20 paise every other day. And, there was a girl in my class who was also a neighbor. After coming back from school, which was around 5, we'd finish our tea at home, and then around 5:30, 6, the two of us would go for a walk. So normally, she would get 20 paise one day and I'd get 20 paise the next. And what we'd do is we'd go and buy a roll of mints, okay? And we used to sort of demolish that roll while on the walk. So that's about all I had when we were very, very young. The concept of giving pocket money to children hadn't even started. I really started understanding more about the value of money when I went into the hostel. And I had a limited budget on which I had to manage the whole of the month before the next money order came from home, and they used to come by money orders in those days. My first visit to the bank, in fact, was only when I was asked to provide a draft in order to join the State Bank of India. You had to provide a 1,000 rupee draft. I don't know what it was for some kind of bond or something. And that was the first time I really went into a bank and did a banking transaction. Before that, I had gone once or twice with my mother in order to visit the locker, but never for a transaction. I still didn't have a bank account, by the way. The first bank account I opened was when I actually joined the bank and realized that a bank account was necessary in order to get your salary. Okay, so my relationship with money started pretty late, but the relationship with budgeting started quite early, in the sense that in the hostel, if you didn't budget and run it well, you'd run out of money pretty soon. And I remember there was one month when, both my brother, he was also in the hostel in Calcutta, and I, the two of us together had only 17 paise left, and we were wondering when the money order would come. So I realized, how much it was necessary to be frugal in the way you do things and how you make your money go the furthest. Okay, I think those were good days in the sense that we learned how to manage our basic expenses. What we didn't, however, learn was how to do any investments. So neither in school nor in college were we given any kind of what I would call financial literacy. And I remember going to one of these technical colleges, one of the top-ranking technical colleges in our country, and telling the students there that basically y'all are illiterate. And I could see the faces of the students becoming red. Means they had come into this college after going through, the most difficult competitions. And how on earth could this woman be calling us illiterate? So I said, well, let me rephrase that to say that y'all are financially illiterate. And it's a fact. most of the people, most of our youngsters, unless they come from a family which teaches all of this themselves, they do not come with a sense of, first of all, savings, second of all, budgeting, and third of all, investment. They do not understand any of the three concepts. And yet, in life, I think there are two things that are very, very important. The first is health, and the second is finances. And if you look back on your schooling days, and even during your college days, neither of these two are explicitly covered. Neither of the two. Okay? So you get into the wrong eating habits and you get into the wrong savings habits. All right? So I think, these are two issues that we really need to address at a very early age, because these are the two things that are going to be the two solid pillars to ensure that you have a good life.
So start early is what I hear.
Absolutely.
When it comes to finances as well as your health.
Absolutely.
What intrigues me the most is the golden word manifestation. And I'm referring to your book again. Could you share how manifestation has worked for you?
One thing that I realized early on is that if you need something to really happen, you can't do it yourself, all by yourself. You will need your team, you will need the ecosystem to help you to really get to that goal. Now, if you really want to do that, what you need to do is to manifest what is that goal. And it has to first manifest within yourself and in your mind, because unless you are convinced about it, you can't be authentic enough in order to help others also buy in on that vision, on that dream. So it's very, very important for you to manifest what it is that you really want to do. To understand, to dream first is very important. So if you really want to get to a particular place, you need to dream about how you get there. You may not be adding in all the details, because believe me, once you have manifested a goal or a vision, there are lots and lots of people who will help you with all the micro steps that are needed to get there. But first and foremost, you have to set that goal, you have to set that vision. And again, as I said, it could be a broad vision, it could be a broad goal. It need not be absolutely pinpointed. But as you start on the journey, the first step is the most important, and the first step is to understand where. If you don't know where, which way will you start? North, south, east, west, which way do you go? You start taking the first steps, and as you take the steps, you will find that the road somehow or the other opens up in front of you in the form of people that come along to help you, in the form of teams that give you more ideas, in the form of even understanding what a competitor is doing or how they are going about it. So there are various ways, in which you get the details of where you need to go. And that is when you actually get there. Now, you'll find a lot of people saying that it's very difficult to determine where I should be and what I should do. But the broad goals are surely there. The broad goals are surely there. You want to be successful, you want to be peaceful, you want to be happy. What is it that you are really looking for? Once you have that, then it can start manifesting itself.
So manifest, which means you have a goal in place and then plan for it. And that is take steps towards it.
Yes, absolutely. Because again, I don't believe that you can pole vault without first taking the baby steps. And the baby steps is having that vision, is understanding where you really want to be.
Thank you, ma'am. You also often said that we are all lifelong learners, and the trick is to be aware and intentional about this mindset. But when it comes to investing, women do hesitate. Is there any way this can be changed?
Yeah, they hesitate because they're just not comfortable. They're not comfortable about it. They think a lot about what could be the upsides and the downsides, more than the upsides, the downsides. And unless and until, you're never comfortable doing something that is outside your complete control. And when you say market risks are something people understand is not within their control. Okay, Even one of the largest investors will not always have market risk in their control. I know that people say that certain really big institutions move the markets and things like that, but even they can move the market only so much. So market forces are always a little outside your control. It's like natural forces. Okay. Now, you have to get used to that idea and still go ahead and do it. So first and foremost, one of the reasons women are not very comfortable is they don't understand the idea of a risk appetite. What is the amount of risk that you can take without feeling uncomfortable, without having to lie awake at night? Okay, so you've got to hedge your risks. And how do you hedge your risks? They don't understand that. So the whole idea is to make women feel comfortable about doing what they are doing. So start small, start with a little variety of everything, and then start growing. Today, in fact, if you look at it, there are so many tools that are available. For instance, you can create paper portfolios and see how you're doing. Okay, you can even invest if you want in very small numbers. You don't need to even buy a full single share in certain markets. You can be part holder of a share if you want to be. So, there are so many tools and so many steps by which you can actually make anybody, women or men. There are a lot of men also, by the way, who are quite uncomfortable about investing. You can make any of them comfortable by telling them to start small and then watch the whole thing as to how it goes. And then as they gain the experience, as they gain the understanding, to go ahead, in the amount that they are investing. And thereafter, if you want to go into the markets, and you should, because if you compare all the classes of returns, you will find that in the markets, they give you the highest amount of returns over a longer time horizon. So you need to start early, and then you go into the mutual funds. Because what happens in the mutual funds is you have experts who are actually working for you. And that too, today, India has the systematic investment plan, the SIPs. Again, an innovation of India. I don't really think I know of any other market that has anything like SIPs. But it's a great innovation. What it does is it allows you to invest a little bit in, say, 4 or 5 funds. And again, because of the intervention of the regulators and the market development by the players, you now know what is the risk in every fund. What is a high risk fund? What is a balanced fund? What is a low risk fund? If you are at the beginning of your career, you can take the high risk funds. If you're in the middle of your career, go for the balanced funds. If you're at the end of your career, go for the low risk funds. So you can start putting money in the mutual funds. Go step by step, as I said. You don't need to go directly into the direct equity market and, make a lot of bets there. Similarly, the other thing that I need to definitely say is don't go into things you don't understand. Lots and lots of people, talk about futures and options. Do they really understand what they're going into? If you do not understand something, do not go into it. And understanding means you really do understand what is the downside and what is the upside. You know only the upside and not the downside, doesn't work. You know only the downside and don't know the upside, doesn't work. So, there are a variety of steps and varieties of ways in which to go, means by which to proceed on this. But I think, it's something quite simple and it can be done. Again, it's very sad that our schools don't really have this. Probably, I should take up an agenda of writing a book that can be used in a school to teach children how to do all of this. But it's a thought worth giving, and maybe somebody or the other will do it.
It is getting introduced in a few curriculums, but not to the extent that ideally we would wish it to be there. Yes. So on the same lines, while you've covered what should be the steps that are taken, women more often than men tend to have the imposter syndrome. So what advice would you like to give women who would like to tackle this head on and reach for their dreams?
I remember when I was heading HR in the bank, okay, and there was this incident when on Women's Day, one of these very good publications, they had done a round table for all the HR managers. So I had gone as the HR manager of our bank, and there were a lot of young women who were there, who were heading the HR of their organizations, young organizations, okay? And there were 3 men who were also HR heads, heading the HR in their particular organization. And this lady who was conducting this session, she was asking questions going around, and every time, one of these really bright young women would jump up and answer, okay? So after about 5 or 6 such questions, she went to the men, and they were sitting together, the 3 men, went to them and said, "How come none of y'all are answering anything?" And one of them, in a little bit of a snide way, said, "Well, I'm feeling overwhelmed." And then one of these young ladies, she jumped up and said, "But we feel that all the time." Okay? And all of this conversation really stuck with me, because that's true. You are forever overcoming this feeling of being overwhelmed because you are outnumbered. And that's the same thing that gives rise to this imposter syndrome. That should you really be here? Do you deserve to be here? And whenever that question comes, and it has come in my mind also several times, one thing is, I look around and I listen to them, and I try and determine what is it that they are saying that is totally new, that's totally different. Yes, there are certain times when they are saying something totally new, but is it something that I don't understand? Not at all. I can quite well appreciate it. Do I have something that I can add on to that? And yes, often there are things that I can add on to it, and then I do. And once you actually get into the flow of things, the imposter syndrome disappears. So the thing, when you really are having an imposter syndrome, you're like standing beside a river, not wanting to step in for fear of the current, and thinking that you can't do it, and therefore you are standing on the side. My advice would be jump in. You'll find you will swim. You know how to swim. There's just a river. If the others can swim, so can you. Just get into it and start swimming, and you will forget all about being an imposter. So you really need to get into it. Get your feet wet. Get into it, and you will see that this syndrome definitely goes away.
Thank you very much. I definitely am going to heed your advice and take this forward. What I also hear from this, ma'am, is that women need to be more confident,
Absolutely.
assertive, they need to be respected. And how much do you think that financial independence will help facilitating these things?
I think hugely. I think, if you need to have a voice, and not only at work but also at home, you need to be financially independent. You don't get an identity of your own if for every single thing you've got to go and ask somebody, or you've got to go and spend somebody else's money. There's no sense of freedom as much as being able to do things with your own money. It gives you a huge sense of self-confidence, because you know that you can support yourself, because you know that you can do what you want to do, and because you know that you can make a difference. You've made a difference in your own life, so you can make a difference in that of others. You can then have a say into what is important or not important for the family. And people will listen to you. They will listen to you because they know that you have the capability of actually going and being independent. Being dependent is not something that gives you that confidence. Being independent does. So I think, if you ask me, for women, I would say the primary thing they need is education. Education gives them the opportunity, the ability, and the confidence to go ahead and be able to become earning members of the family. And then financial independence gives you the confidence to be able to actually articulate what you want to say. It gives you a voice.
Ma'am, in fact, I'm reminded of something that you mentioned in the book, that whichever decision I take, I may never know whether this is the correct one.
True.
While this is true in certain aspects of life, would you also say that for finances, when it comes to finances?
That is absolutely the case, because finances, you will know whether it is good or bad within a finite period of time. In respect of certain decisions, you may not know at all, even within a finite period of time, whether it is right or wrong. All right. But the good thing about finances is, if you've taken a wrong decision, you'll know soon enough. Okay. You've made an investment and that investment tanks, you'll learn a lesson from it. The only thing is, don't disregard it. Failures definitely are steps to success. If you learn from it as to what is the risk that you did not see, and from going forward, you try and build it in to your risk framework, it's going to help you. Because not everything that you do will give you the kind of results that you want. Okay, you may make an investment in going ahead and getting a further degree in a particular line of work, and then you find that particular line of work is becoming maybe dated, or is not really what is the need in the market. So all of that investment that you made of time and money and effort can go down the drain, but that's okay. From that, what can you learn and how can you still go ahead? Means don't get put off by the fact that some of your decisions will go wrong. Start with the premise that some decisions will not be right. All right. If you start with that premise, then you will forgive yourself, because you know that some decisions can go wrong, and therefore you will try the next thing.
So acceptance is the key.
Absolutely. Not only acceptance, awareness, and the ability and the willingness to put it behind you, learn from it, put it behind you and go ahead.
Well said, ma'am. In fact, there is something else that is there in the book, which is, as always, when stuck, call your girlfriend. So this is something that has stuck with me. Do you think that a woman can get more empowered, more educated, if there is another woman who is guiding her and helping her in achieving her goals? How much does representation matter?
Representation, I think, matters a lot. It matters in the workplace, it matters in your life. In every which way that I can think of, representation is very important. See, all of the universe, it's in balance. Why should we then not think that, balance is what we should aim for? And balance only happens when there is representation of every single group in any particular, in any particular space or any particular organization, or even for that matter, within your family. So every voice matters, doesn't matter from whom it comes. You need to allow those voices to speak. Why I spoke about girlfriends is, frankly speaking, girls who have remained friends over a very large period of time or over a very long period of time, most of them have gone through various kinds of experiences. And we have because we have been together for a very long period of time, together meaning at least mentally, if not physically, it is easy to talk about these experiences, because we all know there has been some good and some bad in everybody's life. All right. And the ability to express ourselves, the ability to talk to them, they are people with whom you don't need to weigh what you are saying. You don't need to be correct in what you are saying. You just can be your normal self. And by being that, you are actually giving them the lessons that you learned and learning from them the lessons they learned. So you don't have to go through all the tough experiences by yourself. You can share the learnings with each other, and actually speaking, that helps enormously, I find.
So ma'am, taking this forward, can you tell us 3 ways in which women can make money matter for them?
How women can make money matter to them? Well, first and foremost, as I said, being a self-earner is, I think, very important. It should matter to them whether they are monetarily independent or not. Okay, at least where money is concerned, I won't say monetarily, but whether they are financially independent or not. I think it should matter to them a lot. The second thing is, it should matter to them as to whether they are able to manage the money that they earn by themselves or not. You will find a lot of women, okay, even though they may be earning, ultimately they depend upon their, their male spouses or brothers or, parents, fathers, to tell them how to invest. I think it's important for women to have some opinion as to where their money gets invested. Because again, it's a matter not only of being financially independent, it's a matter of also being able to know what are the things to do and what are the things not to do. Because you never know, at some point of time in your life, you may need to do it yourself. And at that point, it may be too late to learn. Okay? So start thinking about it straight away. And the last but not least is, they need to be aware as to, again, what their goals are. What are they trying to achieve? When they are earning, what is it that they are trying to achieve with the amount that they are earning? They must be having some goals. Either it may be, for their children, it could be for a holiday, it could be for their own, independence in their old age. Whatever it is, they need to be aware of their goals. If they are aware of their goals, if they are aware of how to manage their money, and if they are earning money themselves, I think these three things, if any woman, if they are able to do these three things, it gives them a lot of voice, it gives them a lot of confidence, it makes their lives actually much easier. So, I think if I ask for three things that they should know about money or what should matter to them, those are the three things.
So, which means women have to be aware, they have to also take responsibility and be in control of their finances.
Absolutely. You said it well.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Going on, in fact, we would like to go to our rapid fire section, which is a fun segment. So, here's your first question. The book that you're currently reading?
The book that I'm currently reading. Actually, I read 3 or 4 books all at the same time.
Wow.
I'm reading actually a book that's written by Mr. Jaishankar. The heading is Why Bharat Matters. And that's the book that was the latest one that I'm reading. But there is one book by Mr. Devdutt Patnaik on the side, and I'm trying to recall the name of that book, and I'm not able to. So there are several books there. So I'll have to keep just trying to recall which ones are there.
Sure. The next one we have is work-life balance is?
Work-life balance is actually a little bit of a myth, I think, because it all depends upon what you consider work and what you consider life. I don't think you can make a very strong distinction, not if you are passionate about work. It is only when you don't like the work that you do that you talk very much about this work-life balance and things like that. Because otherwise what happens is, it's very difficult, you're not a machine. You don't turn, work off and switch family on, and you don't switch family off and turn work on. At different kinds of times, you will have different priorities. Family will be a priority at some times, work will be a priority at some times. And believe me, I think this is true of men as well as women. And if it isn't true for men, men should get around to it. Okay, it's important. Because when a child is in hospital, for instance, I'm sure for the man also the work is not a priority, the child is. Okay, so to that extent, I think work-life balance is something that you need to determine how you're going to get to it. Yes, as I told you, I believe balance is important. Neither of these should trump the other. You have to determine which takes priority at which point of time. But frankly speaking, they keep spilling into each other, especially if you like both of them. If you don't like one and like the other more, then that is going to spill over more into the other portion.
Very beautifully said, ma'am. In fact, I couldn't agree more to this. A saying that you live by.
We used to have a school song, and very recently somebody reminded me of it. And I think, that's something that very often resonates in my mind. I don't know whether you've heard this song, and I'm sure you must have heard it. The song goes like this: हमको मन की शक्ति देना, मन विजय करे, दूसरों को जय के पहले खुद को जय करे. I think that second line, the दूसरों को जय के पहले खुद को जय करे, I think I really and truly believe in that. I have never ever believed in a victim syndrome. Okay, so when something that is not good happens, I don't normally externalize it. Okay, I agree that sometimes it's not my fault, sometimes it's external fault, but even when it's not my fault, I try to determine what could I have done to have made it better. Could I have done something to have made it better? All right. So you don't get a promotion at work. You immediately say everybody is out to get me. Nobody appreciates me. Possible. But then, could you have done something to make it better? Okay. So you need to first of all understand yourself. You need to first and foremost, think about how you would have done certain things better or certain things differently. And more than anything else, the same person was telling me, you need to sometimes forgive yourself and love yourself. Okay? We often beat ourselves up no end because something has happened. We need to stop doing that. We need to truly appreciate what we are ourselves and take it from there. I think if you ask me, I try to live by that. Not very successful always, but yeah, I do try to live by that.
And I'm sure most of us will after we are done with this interview. Let me go to the last question. Your role model.
My role model. See, the role model again, is something which I believe, if you look at very early on, it's been my mother and my aunt. Again, you've read the book and you have read the role that my mother played. Again, as I said, that not be a victim is something that my mother used to tell me. Never ever be the victim. Act. Do something about it. Don't just sit and, moan about something that's happened. So there have been lots and lots of lessons that she has given me in little ways, not as lessons. She never used to have, we used to have a lot of people over at our house. And in the evenings and all, people would sit around and have tea. In those days, and especially in Bengali households, adda was a normal thing. But even during the time when she was chatting and talking, she was busy with her hands doing something, crocheting. And I often find, even now, that when I'm talking to somebody on the phone for a long time, at the same time, I'm also playing maybe some word game on the mobile or something or the other. Means it's very difficult for me not to have that multitasking, kind of a
the mindset is such that
behavior.
Yes.
Okay. So I think, if you ask me, my role models actually were my mother and aunt. My aunt also sort of put herself through school and college. They both lost their parents very early in life. So they were very strong women and they had a voice. They learned to earn themselves. They learned to put forward their views. So they had a very strong voice in whatever was going on in the household. So to that extent, I think they were basically my first role models.
And you are a role model for so many of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and insights. No wonder you're considered as one of the top 100 thinkers. Your words resonated so well with me, and I'm sure this will inspire the numerous women who will tune in to Money Matters for Her. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, and let me congratulate you. I understand this is the first time you are doing a fireside chat like this, and let me tell you that you did it very well.
Thank you so much. It's a very big compliment to me. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us for this conversation. We hope you found this enriching. Stay tuned for more on Money Matters for Her Season 3.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.